So permission marketing you contrast with what he calls interruption marketing, which is traditional media and marketing as you've known it for probably the last 100 years. So he looks at a funnel and he says the funnel is, the top of the funnel is a media budget, and it's the amount of people you can interrupt. So how many newspaper ads can you take? How many radio ads can you take? And when someone's reading the newspaper, reading the New York Times, and they see an ad, essentially, for years, marketers paid the New York Times to interrupt people, and hopefully enough people would come through that funnel and come out the bottom and were customers. And many people jumped out of the side of the funnel, they weren't customers. But if you spend enough money interrupting enough people, you're going to get enough customers. It's going to be a profitable cycle, and that continued for years and years and years. And that worked because consumers had very little control of their media, right? If you wanted to watch I Love Lucy, you were going to see the commercials that came because you wanted to catch the beginning of the next segment. If you were going to want to get the news and be an informed person, you had to listen to the radio and you would hear the commercials. Or if you wanted to read the newspaper, there would be commercials there. So what happened in the last 15 years is consumers now have way more control of their media, right? This is not revolutionary, but the TiVo happened and destroyed a multi-billion-dollar industry, or is in the process of. That you can argue about that later. But Spotify and Pandora and Songza, they're all taking on traditional radio. That's very traditional advertiser fueled. Consumers can now have the delete button. So the point of that is we are really in control of the media we consume, so that requires a fundamental different way of thinking about how we connect with our audiences, right? So instead of just buying our way to interruption, we have to think about that in a more strategic way. And this is going to get into gaming, I promise. So when you look at interruption marketing, as what I just described, I want to turn the flip side of that is permission-based marketing. So with traditional advertising, when you're going to the New York Times to say, I want to buy an ad, you're essentially renting their audience, right? You're saying, I think the people who are reading the theater section of the New York Times are great prospects for what I'm selling, so I'm going to buy an ad in that space, and I'm renting an audience. And each time I want to speak to that audience, I have to go back and rent. I have to keep saying to the New York Times, take another $100,000, and here's another $100,000. And so it's a virtuous cycle for the media outlets. It's a really rough cycle for the organizations that are constantly spending money. So what we recommend is permission marketing, which is turning strangers into friends, friends into customers, and customers into evangelists, right? So, and that is Seth Godin's quote. So I did not make this up. I just think it's really smart and makes a lot of sense across lots of different verticals for marketing, particularly in the arts.